It's time to sit back and check out the RCWR show with Lee Sanders. Get fun, in-depth coverage and analysis from the latest in professional wrestling in AEW, WWE, NWA, Impact Wrestling, or the world of entertainment. From hit TV shows to your favorite sports like the NBA or NFL. All things music, movies, and beyond, while trying to make sense of this crazy world we live in. All while keeping it honest, insightful, and interactive since 2011. And now your host, live from the nation's capital of Washington, D.C., Lee Sanders.
Hey guys, what is going on for this Monday night of March 16th, 2026? Happy 316 day. Lee Sanders with you guys for an all-new episode of the RCWR show. Minutes removed after WWE RAW went off the air. Come one, come all. Stay a while, won't you? Happy that you're spending your Monday night with me. Maybe you're checking this out live, or you'll be watching this for on demand or listening on the downloads. Appreciate the love and support as always. Hey, for my live audience, if you have not voted on our interactive poll yet, letting me know what you thought about this week's Monday Night Raw, you can do so right now. Head on over to Twitter at the RCWR show and vote that way. We will take a look at how the voting is going down on that one later on. You picked a great night. We're going to be talking about Raw Fallout. We'll also be talking about some of the winners from last night's Oscars. Also, we'll talk about the very latest in headlines. Of course, I will be sounding off for the very first time about the OVW referee Seizure incident that went down. In case you guys are not aware, there was a OVW taping heading into the weekend, and things went crazy involving a referee who unfortunately took this weird bump, and that bump pretty much triggered a seizure. And boy, oh boy, that's all I got to say about that, just to kind of put that out there, but have that in the back of your mind. And again, I'll be talking about it for the very first time later on during the show. Yo, as far as on the road to WrestleMania goes, we're 33 days out from the spectacle event, the showcase of the immortals, as they love to dub it and everything. And yo, tonight's Monday Night Raw really helped heat things up in a very positive way. I gotta feel now. It kind of feels as though with this episode of Raw that we got this week, now it feels like, all right, locked, loaded, here we go. It now officially, and it's so weird, isn't it? Because the road to WrestleMania usually it starts with the Royal Rumble and everything. When you think about the Royal Rumble, okay, WrestleMania season, Royal Rumble, but it's been feeling a little bit hollow. It's been feeling like something is missing, which is ridiculously weird considering when you think about the card, you're like, okay, you got some good matches that's going down here. Like, this is pretty good, but something is still kind of missing here. And it just felt like things were just on pause, wasn't heating up at all. And now it just feels like, at least with the last, you can let me know if you agree or disagree, but it feels like with the last 2 weeks of WWE programming, particularly on the Raw side of things, definitely including tonight's WWE Raw, we're now going into that. Okay, now it's starting to feel kind of special. It's starting to feel kind of epic here and everything. And with all the seeds that WWE had laid down tonight, ooh, my pretty babies, I am loving it. I am loving it. Loved how things kicked off with Seth Rollins and doing his whole thing with his entourage of ninjas, hooded ninjas and everything. And what was so hilarious was the new lower third graphic. Blinked, or if you were doing something else, you missed it. But before you saw the Seth Rollins lower third text, they had this maxed individual that just popped up as the lower third graphic. You're like, what the hell? And then it did this weird, cool stinger transition into showing the Seth Rollins text. It's the most hilarious thing that I saw in everything. But Seth Rollins kicking things off, pretty much letting it be known that he was the one that started the vision, and he will be the one that will kill the vision. Like, how poetic is that? Like, take a step back, think about that. How poetic is that? Anyway, talked about how he took a steel chair up to Paul Heyman, laid his ass out, does not care if Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker are out on injury. They're going to get what's coming to them. He's eyeing Austin Theory. He's eyeing Logan Paul. As far as Seth Rollins was concerned, he is just getting started with his form of retribution. Well, cue up Paul Heyman, a disheveled, bewildered looking Paul Heyman who looks as though he had been crying his eyes out over the fact that his favorite beloved show got canceled, or maybe, just maybe, uh he was kind of in his feelings over the fact that Buffy the Vampire series reboot from Hulu ain't going to be happening anymore. How about that news? But either way, Paul Heyman coming out there just looking like he was not in the zone. Loved how he was selling essentially what happened to him last week at the hands of Seth Rollins. That's definitely the right headspace that you want to be. That's the right emotion that you want to evoke and everything. And Rollins told him straight up, yo, whatever you got to say, whatever you want to get off your chest, like, go ahead and do it. Go ahead, do it. And Paul Heyman told him, look, I keep telling people, FA, well, FAFO. And that's all he basically kept saying. And then eventually he said FAFO F5. And I didn't, it's so weird because if you remember a couple of weeks ago, I had teased the whole, well, look, now that Brock Lesnar, it's now been established that he's still in cahoots with Paul Heyman, we could at any time, like, whether or not we want to verbally acknowledge it or not, Brock Lesnar is essentially a unsung member of the vision, if you will, right? He is that. It's almost kind of like when you go back and you think about the Fantastic Four. But there's always, over the years, there's been that honorary fifth member of the Fantastic Four. You think about She-Hulk at one point. You think about Spider-Man, right? And you're going, well, Brock Lesnar is definitely, right? The fifth Beatle, right? You think about that and everything. And Brock Lesnar definitely fits that mode and everything. And I thought it was a nice touch of detail on WWE's part to have Brock Lesnar essentially respond to what had went down with Paul Heyman last week. It was perfect. I think, honestly, in retrospect, we all would have been sitting here this week going, well, damn, all the history between Heyman and Brock, and Brock isn't gonna stick up for his buddy, for his business partner. Like, what the hell? So nice fine touch of detail right there on WWE's part, and having Brock Lesnar come out, and he was ready to throw it down. He did not give a damn how many max individuals there were at ringside surrounding Seth Rollins. Nah, he was going to get him some Seth Rollins by any means necessary. We see him brawl with the other maxed men. Eventually, he comes toe-to-toe with Seth Rollins just when it's looking as though it's about to go down. Lights go out. Then we hear the music of the one, the only. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, I love that Obafemi, man. Oh, my man, Obafemi. Holy hell. Good God almighty. Obafemi coming out there. Massive pop from that San Antonio, Texas crowd. Texas, I love you guys, especially the San Antonio wrestling fans. You guys know your wrestling history, obviously, and all that. But just anytime wrestling comes you all's way, you guys always represent. So this was a really good night to be tuning into some wrestling programming, as the crowd at that arena all throughout the night were bringing it. They were bringing the energy. Oba coming out, great, massive pop. Oba standing just nose to nose, just not that far away from Brock Lesnar, not backing down, pretty much getting up in Lesnar's face. Lesnar looking a little startled, kind of like, who is this guy? I can't really make out what the hell. Like, but not backing down at the same time. Seth Rollins enjoying what he's seeing, and so now it's kind of looking like it's going to be a 2-on-1 beatdown. But then Brock just kind of physically flinched at Rollins, making Rollins just say, okay, later. He takes a detour out of the ring. So now this just leaves Oba and Femi. And Oba, thunderous statement, grabbing Brock Lesnar, power bombing his ass. I mean, just single-handedly making Brock Lesnar look like a chump. Love the added touch to detail, by the way, and how Michael Cole, and they bleeped Michael Cole. Oh, I love that part right there, right? That was a nice little touch. Obafemi putting his boot on the chest of Brock Lesnar, pointing at the WrestleMania sign. We already know what that is, and we would get the confirmation later on during this broadcast that the person that is going to be facing Brock Lesnar, stepping up to that challenge, the Brock Lesnar challenge, is going to be Obafemi. So Obafemi, Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania, fucking A. Good. Good. You know, it's interesting because originally, we're kind of looking at some of the stuff that was happening some weeks back and trying to understand the trajectory of where things might be going with Brock Lesnar and everything. And I know one idea that was floating around was, well, is it possible that maybe Gunther is going to somehow slide on in there, and is he maybe going to be the one to take on Brock Lesnar and everything? And then if he were to take on Brock Lesnar, what exactly would that mean to see both of these two men collide at WrestleMania and everything? Would you essentially do another, okay, careers on the line, or is that a story that's going to be told much later down the road and everything? By the way, probably one of the most glaring omissions from tonight's WWE Raw. It's been relatively quiet as far as figuring out storyline wise what is going to be Gunther's path heading into WrestleMania, but definitely on this night for this week's Raw, a great omission from Gunther. Nowhere to be found, which just kind of has you going, what exactly is going to be his plan for WWE? What are they thinking to have him do at Mania? Is he maybe going to do, I don't know, a match against Penta for the Intercontinental Championship? Or is he maybe going to go into another direction, right? You kind of get the impression that they're not quite sure. Creative is not quite sure what to do with Gunther just yet. Hey, we still got time. We got 33 days. Anything can and will happen on the road to WrestleMania. But don't count out Gunther not being on the WrestleMania weekend card. He's definitely going to be involved. I might be on to something with Gunther and Penta. Hell, maybe you guys got a different direction you'd like to see Gunther go in at Mania. You can always sound off. Let me and the rest of the community know. But that scene between Oba and Brock Lesnar put the biggest smile on my face. And, for me, I quietly was looking at this whole Brock Lesnar challenge. And if you guys remember from when it initially started, and Obafemi was on that same show, and he was backstage mean mugging Rusev and everything. Remember what I said on that post show? I said, yo, where the hell was Obafemi? Like, what the hell? What was Rusev doing? Like, nobody was hearing what was going on with Brock Lesnar. Like, what the hell? And nobody showed up right then and there on the spot. Like, what the hell? And it just left me baffled and everything. But I was always internally rooting for Obafemi to be the one to come out there. But then the question for me ultimately became, well, is WWE like, do they have the common sense to naturally just go in that direction? Like, the dude's already getting over big time with the WWE crowd, but is WWE willing to go to that next level and go, look, this dude is without a doubt going to be a not only a future main eventer, future household name, future multi-time world heavyweight champion, but yo, like he is in the ranks and of the likes of guys like a Brock Lesnar, like a Big Show, like you do this Obafemi do right. He really is that badass of a special attraction. I just didn't have the heart in me to really go all the way and say, yeah, WWE is gonna surely they're gonna shake it up. They're gonna go in this direction, right? They're gonna go. And boy, I'm glad they proved me just when I was thinking they're not gonna do it. They proved me wrong. They're like, no, we're gonna go in that direction. Happiest moment for me to see. I put out a tweet that's been catching a lot of fire, and I said, and I quote, and on this night, WWE did one of the greatest things ever by paying it forward. Having Obafemi step up to accept Brock Lesnar's WrestleMania challenge. Damn it, they pulled the trigger, and I'm to the moon and back. I know that there's been times within recent months that a lot of crap has been said about Triple H, Paul Levesque, and or about the WWE, and stuff about WWE is racist and all this other crap. And this ain't me being an Uncle Tom or nothing like that. I look at what they have done with Jade Cargill. I look at the many things that they've done with the multi-talented Bianca Belair through the years. I look at what they most recently did with my girl Naomi, and I hope that her pregnancy is successful. It goes all the way to the full term, that there's no complications whatsoever. And whenever she's ready to get back on the saddle again and pick up where she left off, like I know she's going to be white fucking hot. Like there's no doubt about that in my mind. Okay. Uh, I can definitely push back and go, yo, what the fuck is going on with the Street Profits? The Street Profits deserve better. What the hell? I question some of the creative decisions behind Javon Evans, but the young man has a bright career ahead of him. There's no doubt about that. Trick Williams, I love what's continuing to happen with my man Tricky. Love what they're doing with Carmelo Hayes. So I mean, there's a lot of for my people of color. There's a lot of good things that is happening, with wrestlers of color in the WWE. And then if you even want to just take that a step further, when you look at what WWE specifically is doing with minorities, right? Now I just told you about my black and brown people, but let's not forget about Penta. I see Penta, and I fucking love what's going on with Penta. Woo! White hot over fucking night. I love what they're doing with Penta. Speaking of Penta, phenomenal match that he had with Dragon Lee tonight for the Intercontinental Championship. I know I'm kind of bouncing all, but you guys should know by now the way that we do this show. Yeah, we're not ESPN. We're not gonna just boom, boom, boom. We're gonna have that natural flow to it, and if it naturally makes sense to talk about it, then that's what we're gonna do. But again, you look at the phenomenal match that Penta had with Dragon Lee earlier tonight, and I love how that match essentially had set itself up and everything. Because for what it was worth, if I'm not mistaken, originally it wasn't even supposed to be Dragon Lee facing. It wasn't even supposed to be Dragon Lee facing Penta for the Intercontinental Championship. I kind of feel as though maybe it was supposed to be Finn Balor or something like that. Because I know JD McDonough was trying to make. I think JD McDonough was trying to make a pitch for himself, getting a shot at the IC title. I'm actually looking in my notes trying to see if I can correctly jog up my memory and everything. But then we found out it was Dragon Lee that was getting the shot and everything. And Penta retaining. It was about a 10-minute match, but it was definitely a very fun matchup. And once I saw that it was Dragon Lee that was going to be facing Penta, I'm going, yo, just sit back, relax, enjoy, because these two, their styles, they're going to complement the hell out of each other. And I'm with the commentators because at the end they were like, yo, we need to see these guys again. We need more time. Like, and I agree. I agree. This was a real special treat, even though it was so damn short, man. So damn short. But it's all good. It's all good, man. It's all good. But yeah, like, so you see that. You also see, I mean, my God, we'd be here all night just going over the many examples of what is going on. Look at the placement of my girl Raquel Rodriguez, Big Mamacita. She had a championship match opportunity, didn't she? I'm trying to think. Yeah, she had a championship opportunity tonight against another Mamacita and Stephanie Vaquer. Stephanie retaining the. Actually, you know what? Correction. That was a non-title match. I kept thinking, I know which title was on the line tonight. That's how I got the two kind of mixed up there. Sorry about that, guys. But yeah, non-title match between Stephanie Vaquer and Raquel Rodriguez. Liv Morgan was at ringside. She was trying to help out Raquel a little bit here and there. Little shenanigans at ringside. Io Sky ended up coming out because she could takes no more and everything. Liv was running around the ring like a deer in headlights until Raquel. That wasn't even a shoulder tackle. I think if you were to ask me, like, what do you call that, Lee? I would just call that the pounce. That's what I would call that. Because literally, you go back and you play it in slow motion. Raquel actually pounced the hell out of poor little Io, setting her flying over the announcer's table. Stephanie Vaquer going up to the top rope, connecting with a cross body and everything. That was a nice, pretty little spot that went down there. Stephanie at the very end ended up evading the Tahana bomb, getting a roll up on Raquel, just barely escaping right there. Look, within recent weeks, Stephanie and Raquel, they've definitely been having some really good matches with one another. And it's just a little bit heartbreaking for me that it's actually not going to be Raquel going after a championship at WrestleMania. I still feel in my heart of hearts that would have been the bigger story to be telling, which is, yo, between the two Judgment Day women, which one of them is going to get the job done at WrestleMania? That really would have been it for me, right? Seriously. Uh, so I mean, when you look at what's going on with people of color, when you look at the minorities in WWE, you just go, yo, everything is popping, everything is going pretty damn good, and hey, that's what's up. More, please, right? You want the consistency and all that. I see something interesting going on here. See something on YouTube. I see that the chat is disconnected. I want to let you guys know right now if we have any streaming issues, bear with me. Hopefully, it can resolve itself very quickly. Over here on the East Coast, we have been dealing with a severe storm that we're not quite out of the woods just yet. I know it was really bad earlier today, right down to the point I actually was supposed to run some errands. And my wife was like, hey, I just spent part of my break checking up on weather and traffic, and because she knew I was going to plan on going out running a couple of errands, and she was like, hey, be careful going out there because it's going to be storming really really bad, and honestly, if you don't have to go, like, just hold off. And I was like, yeah, I hear you. I was like, I think I might do that. And that's what I actually ended up doing. But we still are not out of the woods just yet. The worst is yet to come, as apparently between now and through the wee hours of the night, it's supposed to be picking up even more. Some of my neighbors' power is actually out. I know one neighbor, he talked about how his transmitter went out, and it's yet to come back on. So if anything weird happens between now and the end of the show, just bear with me, and I'll try to reconnect. Hopefully, we won't have any hiccups or anything. But if you happen to be seeing that the chat via YouTube is disconnected, just refresh your browser or the app, and that should do the trick. All right. Let's keep rocking and rolling. Talk about some more action that happened from tonight's WWE RAW and everything. You know, we were talking about Raquel and Liv. Speaking of Liv, love the vignette that they showed of Liv Morgan explaining how, in regards to Finn Balor, they pretty much had Liv say, yo, this was what I wanted to accomplish day one that I came into the Judgment Day. I wanted you out. She talked about how she never believed in Finn Balor being family. No. You know, if anything, you know, you kind of really read in between the lines there. You know, if anything, Liv Morgan essentially saw Finn Balor as a threat. She wanted to try to figure out ways to remove this guy from Judgment Day and everything. And she knew it was going to take a lot of time, definitely some patience and everything, but she was willing to put in the time and the effort and everything. But this was her secret plan all along, ever since she first came into Judgment Day. She put up with him only because of her relationship with Dominic Mysterio, but she was seeing him the entire time through his lying and his scheming and manipulation. She also took it a step further and said that Finn got soft over time, which made him a pathetic loser. And it just made her sick to call him family, and that they betrayed him because ultimately he taught them how to. Kind of goes back to what we were talking about from last week and everything. And she put over JD McDonough, basically saying now he's free without having Finn holding him back. Dominic Mysterio, he will eventually get the Intercontinental Championship back. Raquel is a future women's champion. Liv put herself over, talking about how at Mania she's going to get the job done, becoming the new women's champion and everything. Far as she's concerned, the family is back and better than ever, just without Finn. And she welcomes Finn to watch them succeed and everything. Meanwhile, as far as what's going on with Finn Balor, Balor is basically dealing with some undisclosed injuries, and yeah, he's gone for now. You just can't help but wonder, though, if Balor maybe will make his presence felt in some form at WrestleMania. Time will tell for that one. So we had that go down. Original El Grande Americano faced El Grande Americano 2. El Grande Americano went over in that one. Fun stuff right here. Nice little companion thing to what's going on over in the AAA promotion and all of that. Nice of them to pretty much follow up on what happened at Rey of Reyes and everything and continue to build off of that, as it's pretty much, honestly, of all the stuff that's like AAA related. I love how the Grande Americano stuff, I love how that's basically just been crossovering into AAA and continuing to build through AAA, and then coming through regular WWE programming, continuing to build off of that. Love how this feud has been coming together and everything. Good stuff. Elsewhere, Jimmy and Jey Uso, they bump into Roman Reigns, and Punk. Oof. We'll talk more about that closer of a segment and everything. But Jimmy and Jay, they end up running into Roman Reigns, who comes out of this. Maybe it was his Uber. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it was his personal limousine, whatever you want to call it. But they run into him. Roman talks about how they missed their fathers while growing up, and hey, now that he's older and he's got kids, he wants to be a full-time father for his kids. And Jimmy says, yo, that's the truth. And Jay says that Punk still owes them an apology. Roman says he doesn't really need it, but he'll take it anyway because what's Punk going to do? Beat him up, right? And they all laugh about that. I know earlier there was something that transpired where Roman gave the Usos props for handling their business and standing up for family. As the Usos told him, they said, hey, this what we did last week with Punk had nothing to do with you. It had to do with family. And Roman appreciated that as he looked right into the camera and said into the rest of the family out there, yo, between now and WrestleMania, you got issues with whatever Punk had said. Feel free to step up and represent. Do your thing. But come WrestleMania night, his ass is mine. Right. So it's almost kind of like Roman put out a bounty. Right. It's almost like he put a bounty out there on Punk, but not necessarily. Not necessarily. I kinda like those little fun dynamics that was going on there. We'll pick up more with Roman and Punk in just a hot little bit, especially since they had closed out the show and everything. Meanwhile, we had a women's Intercontinental Championship match. AJ Lee defending successfully against Bayley. I know in real life the two of these girls are the best of friends. They're always hanging out with one another, and I've always had the saying of, look, who better to bring out the very best in you, to really challenge you and everything than a best friend. And in regards to this match, I thought this was pretty solid. Um, Bailey really making AJ look really good here. Not that AJ needed it, because, but what I mean by that, and I don't want people to misconstrue my words, but what I mean by that is, when you're looking at Bailey and AJ in the ring together, Bailey just looks like this massive hulking type of figure. And it's kind of like you're looking at AJ and it's like, I'm just waiting for AJ to just break down and go, "Don't hurt me, I'm little," right? But no, like Bailey just looked like this big hulking figure and everything. And I'm looking at this going, okay, this should be interesting. But their styles gel pretty damn well together here, man. Bailey has been the unsung hero when it comes to wrestling, man. Be it singles, especially singles, but definitely the tag matches as well. But all Bailey has been doing every time she's been getting an opportunity is going in there, pulling in solid ass match after match after match. And as far as I'm concerned, on this night, she made AJ look really good. These are the type of fine tune up matches you want for AJ to have. If there's going to be any additional ring rust that possibly needs to somehow be shaked off between now and Mania, like this is the time that you want to be doing it and everything. And AJ, for me, just continues to look very good despite there being a long period of time where she did not wrestle. I had no issues with how this match played out tonight. Loved it. Definitely one of my sleeper hit matches of the night. We went to a commercial break eventually, but then when we came back, we see that Becky Lynch is just beating the holy living shit out of AJ, just tossing her all around that ringside and everything. Eventually, we saw officials, kind of step in there and straighten everything up, kind of separate the two women and everything. But at this point, the needle in the damage done has already taken place. From there, we get a recap of what went down between Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes on Friday Night SmackDown. I did watch SmackDown in its entirety. Actually enjoyed how that segment had played itself out and everything. Eventually, this leads into Michael Cole revealing that he has an exclusive interview with the Viper Randy Orton. And I gotta tell you, WWE, please never, ever, 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 in the love of fucking God, wrestling gods out there, don't ever do this again. So we get to the Randy Orton segment. And Randy Orton looks like he is in 240p quality, streaming quality. It looks bad. I mean, this was Skype bad. This looked like some America Online dial up type of modem shit. You could barely make out Randy Orton. It was hilarious, man. You get Cole and Graves, they're looking all nice and 4K smooth and everything. And I'm looking at Randy Orton, and I bullshit you guys not. When they went to Randy Orton, I'm going, why is Randy Orton showing up in like 240p? Is something wrong with my internet? And it was actually storming at my end. And so I actually paused Netflix on the TV. I pull out my phone and I disconnect from the Wi-Fi, the home Wi-Fi here, and I launch the Netflix app on my phone, and it's like, hey, you want to watch where you last left off? I'm like, yeah, let me do that. And so I'm looking at the Randy Orton segment again. I'm like, no, that can't be. And so I'm rewinding it back. I'm making sure that I'm using my cell phone Wi-Fi because I got a strong tower signal around here. And I'm like, no, this is actually WWE showing this poor quality of a segment. Like, what the hell? Didn't they get this checked out before? Or like, what the hell? Kind of interesting. As the phone call, Randy Orton had a phone call right before he tried to do this little interview with Michael Cole. And you could hear Randy Orton say, hey, it was nice catching up with you a couple of weeks ago. Great seeing you. Oh, you saw what I did to Cody Rhodes last week. Well, of course you saw what I had did. Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about what you've been saying, and yeah, a lot of it's been really resonating and everything. And hey, look. Michael Cole's hounding me for this interview. I got to go ahead and do this, but we'll catch up real soon. So you're going, who the hell was Randy talking to there? Interesting. So now Michael Cole, he's like, hey, thanks for taking the opportunity to talk. And Randy Orton goes, yeah, look, I know I granted you an interview and all that. I told you I was going to talk to you, but nah, not going to do that anymore. But I do want to address, everything that had went down with Cody Rhodes last week. Let me just say this. I'm a killer. And to quote something from Cody Rhodes, wrestling has more than just one family. So you're looking at that, you're going, is this Randy Orton's way of kind of not only putting his respective family over, right? But also at the same time, is this more of the, legacy? Like, they're really trying to bring this full circle. Legacy, Ted DiBiase Jr., Randy Orton, Cody Rhodes, Legacy. Like, yeah, I actually was probably one of the few and the only that actually liked the Legacy stable from back in the day. But for me, I'm going, who was he talking to? I know some people were throwing around the idea maybe he was chatting it up with Aleister Black. And I'm going, nah, I don't think so. Because those that have been watching SmackDown consistently, one of the last things Randy Orton had said to Aleister Black, and it was right before the Royal Rumble. No. It was right before Elimination Chamber. Randy Orton said to Black, yo, after I'm done, like, if you want to get froggy and, you and me can pick up right where we left off or not, like, it don't matter to me, but it is what it is. Like, Orton basically told Black, I'll fight your ass too. Like, just let me get through Elimination Chamber and then we can pick up right where we left off. And then since then, Black and Zelina Vega, they've gone off and been meddling with other people. I don't think it is Aleister Black. I think the person that Randy Orton was talking to, you know what? I think it possibly, I think it possibly was Ted DiBiase Jr. But see, here's the thing. Here's the thing. Do you really want it to be Ted DiBiase Jr.? Now, just really stop and think about that. There's a reason why I'm pausing on that. I don't want to get too into the weeds because it would just kind of, I won't say it would take the show off the rails because it wouldn't. It is wrestling related. But let me just say it this way. When's the last time you did your research on Ted DiBiase Jr.? He's involved in some new shit that's going on, and it's not really good. So it's kind of one of those deals where you go, well, do you really want Ted DiBiase Jr. to be resurfacing on WWE programming? Like, we get what you're trying to do, but like, do you really? But then you can easily counter that by saying, well, look, Ted DiBiase Sr., he's been involved in his fair share of controversies, and WWE continues to, work with the legend and all that, and give him these really cool little cameo opportunities, work opportunities behind the scenes. Hell, not for nothing, but I remember during the pandemic, if you were fortunate enough to be selected as a WWE virtual fan for the shows, I did a couple, as you longtime listeners recall. The person that was in our earpieces letting us know, okay, make sure you guys are clapping, you're cheering, and if you got your props, hold your props up high and everything. We need big energy, big energy. That was Ted DiBiase himself. That was quarterbacking all that, giving audibles and all that stuff. So, it could be Ted DiBiase. It could be Ted DiBiase. I was just thinking about, like, well, who else could it possibly be if it's not Ted DiBiase? If it's not a Ted DiBiase Jr., is it possible that Cowboy Bob Orton is maybe involved? That's possible. That's also possible. Let the mystery continue to just unravel itself. We'll get there in due time, but there's some interesting names to really think about there. Hey, look, could it ultimately be Aleister Black? That'd be some fine ass full circle storytelling. I'd like to see them make sense out of, because last Orton was ready to pounce on Black. So I don't know. But something to think about there. Something to think about. Some other action from tonight's Monday Night Raw. I don't think there's really too much left for us to get into on the card. I think only thing we got left is oh yeah, I almost forgot about that. Probably one of the lowest points of the night. There was a blemish. Momentum had to come down eventually. Maxxine Dupri versus Nattie. Nattie winning via submission. Look, man, these girls are still in their early phases and everything, but I'm already starting to grow very, very leery of this. I think this is a waste of the new Nattie gimmick. I just feel that they need to separate these girls and kind of have it go in a different direction. It's interesting because, yes, I am the same Lee Sanders that, weeks back. Hey, Maxxine Dupri, she's showing me something, hey, that's good. She's getting better and better. Like this is good, And I've always been that firm believer in, hey, when something is working, when you found the right dance partner, you want to continue to keep working with them and everything. But this just kind of feels like it has maybe run its course already, even though we know there's much more storytelling that WWE wants to do with this. But I just honestly feel like WWE needs to just leave this alone, go in completely different directions. Like, I would rather see Nattie eventually lock up with Bayley or Lyra Valkyria.
or even AJ Lee. I'd rather see some stuff like that than Maxxine Dupri. Um, I see Maxine's potential. Don't get me wrong. I do. You show me a person that's making an effort and they're trying and they are improving even by a little bit. I'm like, yo, keep staying with them and everything. But I just kind of feel like at this point, Maxine should be given more time to go back to the performance center, maybe kind of quietly come on up through NXT, really take advantage of what's down there between the performance center and NXT and really help get her truly to that next level and everything, cuz I definitely feel she's so much more capable than what we're currently seeing of her right now. That's just me personally, right? But yeah, they need to stop this. They need to stop this. The crowd wasn't really even into this as well. I gotta say. So you kind of want to go with that flow, right? Kind of listen to the crowd there. But and WWE at times we've seen they're gonna do what they're gonna do. Bayley, Lyra Valkyria chatting it up backstage. By the way, did you guys notice the little Easter egg that was behind them? You would have seen Austin Theory trying to console Maxine Dupri after her beat down there to Nattie, and Logan Paul pretty much was tapping him, saying, "What are you doing? Like talking with her? Come on, we got to go." And Homegirl just kept sitting there, leaned up against the door, licking her wounds and all that. But anyway, Bailey's a little bit bummed out that she didn't get the job done and everything. Lyra's trying to do her best to cheer her up and everything. Asuka, Kari Sane, they enter the scene. Asuka's not happy with them since they messed up her shot at the IC title, saying that she would have beaten AJ and that they're not ready for Asuka. Kari tells Bayley to stay away, far away from them. Lara was wondering what that is all about, as Kari actually said something to Bayley in Japanese, and Bayley's like, "Oh, they're trying to go after the tag titles." Lyra's like, "Well, maybe we should be going after the tag titles. Maybe we should go talk to Pierce." So we had a little bit of a cliffhanger right there. LA Knight bumps into the Usos. I guess Usos are getting ready to roll out for the night. LA Knight wants to know what's going on with the Usos and Roman Reigns, because if they're going to be running that bloodline revival crap back, he can't really have anything to do with it. To which Usos pretty much tell him, yo, there was family business. You need to mind your own business. Kind of quoting Joey Swole there. You need to do better. Mind your own business. All the shit that I'm seeing at the gyms as of late. My God, all these wannabe influencers. You're fucking up my rep. You get in front of my camera. Like, don't even get me started on that. I keep telling my friends and family, I will just quietly build my gym like I've been doing downstairs and just let me do my thing. I got a gym that I'm putting together in my basement, punching bag, all that good stuff. So I'm looking forward because now that I'm enjoying spring break for this whole week, I plan on doing some straightening up down there, get that nice and hooked up and everything. LA Knight telling the Usos, look, can respect the family business. But again, if the bloodline is going to be running it back, I don't think we're going to be on the same page. Wants to know if he and the Usos are cool. Jimmy gives him a fist bump. But when it comes to Jay's just kind of looking at him like, get that shit out of here. LA Knight just walks off. That pretty much was the end of that one. Love this interplay that we got going on here with LA Knight, like still in the mix, and I love this. Like, is the bloodline gonna come back? Is the family gonna somehow hold Roman Reigns accountable here, or are they now kind of realizing that, nah, you know what? Roman's our tribal chief. We understand. We hate it, but we understand what's going on. We it's gonna be right. You can't help but wonder that. Let's talk about that main event segment. Roman Reigns coming on out there. He's ready to throw it down. He pretty much invites CM Punk to come on out. CM Punk is acting like the ultimate politician right here, man. And I mean, he's just trying to do his best to really get into the head of Roman Reigns here. I mean, CM Punk's taking his time, getting into the ring, going all around, kissing babies, high-fiving people. I mean, Jesus Christ. The only thing that was missing was taking autographs and doing selfies and everything. That's all that was missing. Finally, he enters the ring. Reigns welcomes Punk to his ring and his main event. Punk says, it's interesting. You keep using my government name like it's an insult, but I got to give you a reality check here. My friends and family, they're the ones that call me Phil. So pretty much, Punk letting Roman know right then and there on the spot, like, you're neither a friend and you damn sure ain't family. All right. So it's kind of one of those, why are you calling him by his government name? And I love that Punk was like, what am I supposed to do? Go on Wikipedia or whatever and call you Tidahidi? I mean, he called him some ridiculous name that just had me pop big time. And then he said, Punk said that he doesn't obsess over Roman's real name and doesn't dare call him Joe, since that'd be insulting to a Samoan he actually loves very much. And you just couldn't help but mentally pop because you're like, yo, he's talking about Samoa Joe. To which Roman says to him, well, if you call that Joe, he'll let you know who the tribal chief is, I'm sure. You're like, oh shit. Like, okay, so even Joe bows down. You trying to say Joe bows down to the mighty tribal chief Roman Reigns? Like, what the hell? Good shit right there. So nice back and forth off the break. This was good overall. Their segment together much stronger than some of the stuff that they did within the past couple of weeks and everything. Leaps and bounds, definitely leaps and bounds. Punk says that all the Samoans Roman invited to attack him will just shake his hand and hit the catchphrase there. Punk surprised Roman hasn't taken a swing at him yet, as Punk knows for a fact that he is all up in Roman's head. And yeah. So you think, but this was a very fun way of coming back to biting CM Punk in the ass when it was all said and done. Punk says that he'll say just anything, like he's got Roman in the main event. Roman counters right back, says Phil has a main event of anything this year, not even a live event tour in Europe. Punk says he's calling for Roman last week, but he says something naughty, right? Punk will say whatever comes to mind, and that's why people love him. Gives a shout out to Jimmy and Jay for handling the family business last week. Punk admitting that, he had that attack coming to him and everything, and it was well deserved what he got last week. Right message, wrong sender, as it should have been Roman Reigns doing it. Once again, Punk saying who's the real tribal chief. Roman coming right back, basically saying he's heard that garbage for the last 5 years. Punk is redundant, repeats the same stuff every week. Roman admits that he truly is unfazed and tells Punk not to waste his time any longer. Tries to exit the ring, but Punk keeps blocking him every chance that he gets. Again, poking the bear, trying to get in that head and everything for what it's worth. And I love that Punk tells him, I'm not done with you yet, young boy. And I'm just going, me and the wife were actually watching this, and we both popped because she's like, wait a minute. She's like, Punk is a couple of years older than you, right? I'm like, yeah, he's got me beat by 2 years. He's 47. And we're like, we're reminding ourselves, how old is Roman Reigns again? How old is Roman Reigns again? And we're like, Roman's 40. It's like, so he's calling him kid? Like, what the fuck? And I told her, I said, that would be like me at my age calling Michael B. Jordan kid. Like, come on. Like, it'd be one thing at the age I am now. It'd be one thing if I'm calling somebody in their 20s kid. Like, okay, I've definitely lived twice longer than them. I've seen more. Okay, so if I'm gonna say, you got a long way to go, kid. Okay, yeah, sure, but like, come on, man. Come on, 7 year difference between these two guys. But I kind of got it from the standpoint of where basically this was Punk, the in-ring veteran, the journeyman, the man that's basically seen it all, done it all, and all of that stuff. Like I kind of good, but it was just so funny hearing that shit. Anyway, Punk actually said Punkamaniacs, by the way. Yeah, he said Punk says it's the last time Roman will main event and that the Punkamaniacs will chant his name and he'll split Roman's ego in two and beat him on the grandest stage of them all. Roman says, we all know Punk's great with the mental games. Still, Roman cannot be phased. Roman's done everything under the sun and back. And when the talk is done, far as he's concerned, CM Punk, he can't do the walking. He can do the talk. He can talk with the best of them, but when it comes to doing the walking, he can't do it. Punk isn't faster or stronger and can't do it in the ring. Talks about how the title is an embarrassment around CM Punk's waist and that he is a tryhard that makes them all look terrible because he's old. And then all of a sudden, Punk just decks the living shit out of Roman Reigns flat on his keister. You got Adam Pearce and the officials coming out there breaking this up and everything. Roman Reigns starts smiling and then cackling as Punk is just looking on like, what the hell? So now, Roman Reigns has found that calling card. He's found that kink in CM Punk's armor. So you don't like being called old. You don't mind it when, you don't mind it when we go, Punk, all you care about is yourself. And when you don't get your way, you throw a temper tantrum and quit. Never mind the, hey, your wife is a bigger draw than you. Like, no, that's not stinging him. That's not, no. But when you call him old, well, by God, he just got to deck your ass. And I love how Roman was selling this as we were getting ready to go off the air and everything. Roman basically said, like, right to the camera, because he was looking for the camera, and he says to the camera, that's the kind of mental game. That's what he's asking as we're going off the air and everything. And he's like, who's in whose head now? Good shit. The psychology that Punk tried to do here was a dangerous game. And man, did it get reversed big time. So now that Roman knows that weakness, how is he going to exploit that in the coming weeks? I can't wait to see how that's going to play itself out. Ooh, that's a slow burn cooker right there. I love that. So that's pretty much how Raw went off the air. Also, shout out to WWE. They had lost another long-time WWE employee and a gentleman by the name of Davey Coates. And I saw a lot of condolences being offered and all that. For those that maybe are not aware, he was a former WWE International touring manager. And he was with them for a very, very long time. Because I know some of you guys probably saw the graphic and you were like, wait a minute, is this a repeat of what happened from last? No. This was definitely a different person that had passed away. I'm having some internet issues. Hang on here, guys. Hang on here. Just trying to see if... No, I'm just dealing with some weird pop-ups. That's all that's going on. But yeah, he helped Davey Coates. He helped WWE manage his global tours. And according to Triple H, he played a very important role in keeping NXT UK running through the COVID-19 pandemic and everything. So, yeah, he was with WWE for 20 plus years. Um, that's a long time, man. That is a very long time. It seems like for all intents and purposes, the WWE Hall of Fame is a lock, but this is kind of one of those cases where I know what the Ultimate Warrior initially had in mind with the award recognizing unsung employees behind the scenes and all that, but like if they want to continue to do the Warrior Award, like I'm down with that, but maybe they should do some type of a new award specifically where they recognize some of the work of guys like Davy Coates, kind of put them in a separate wing that's still part of the Hall of Fame and all that. I think that would be really, really cool. Even John Cena reacted to the passing of Davy Coates. So if you not aware of what's going on, just take a look on social media and you'll definitely get caught up to speed. He definitely had made quite the impact there. Some nice barn burners for this week's Raw when it was all said and done. Nice further development on the road to WrestleMania. Love the Punk Reigns interactions. Oba one-upping Brock Lesnar. We know Brock is going to be in the house for next week's WWE Raw. That'll be interesting to see how Brock's going to react to that and everything. But overall, pretty solid edition of Monday Night Raw. Let's see what you guys had to say via Twitter at the RCWR show, as we got a poll that's up right now. Survey says 5% of you gave Raw a thumbs down. 42% of you are staying in the middle, and top dog right now, I see 52% of you gave the show a thumbs up. Appreciate you guys that had cast your votes. That's what's up. That's what's up. All right. Let's talk a little wrestling related news. We'll talk a little bit of highlights as well. That's non wrestling related. First off, congratulations to everyone that won at the Oscars. I can tell you right now, when I come back from spring break, I have this Associated Press news quiz that I usually take once a week for one of my classes. And it makes sense because, it's a journalism degree I'm pursuing and all that. So it's kind of one of those, how well are you paying attention to your AP news and everything? And I know the last quiz, to the point, the last quiz that we were given, one of the last questions we were asked on the quiz was about the Oscars and basically what is it celebrating specifically. It was just basically a gimme. Like anybody could have, got that and everything. But what the hell? Anyway. But check out the official tally for the 2026 Oscars. One battle after another, starring Leonardo DiCaprio, Sean Penn. That won 6 awards, including Best Picture. Sinners picked up 4 awards. It's so funny because I was trying to watch Sinners. True story. I was trying to take Tams to go see Sinners. And when she saw the trailer, she said, that looks too fucking scary. I mean, she's a big old wuss when it comes to scary picks. And so it's like, oh man, you're going to have me watch this by myself? And she loves Michael B. Jordan. She's a big fan of his work and everything. She's like, yeah, you're going to, but I know it's on HBO Max because I have an HBO Max subscription. I'm strongly thinking about watching it, but then it's kind of one of those, well, do I really want to watch it and then say, yo, you should really watch it? Or should I just say, hey, now that Michael won some awards here and, for this movie, even though it's a scary movie, would you now consider watching it with me? And maybe I'll do the latter and just kind of last try to get her to watch it with me and go from there. Frankenstein picked up 3 awards. K-pop Demon Hunters picked up 2. Sentimental Value picked up 1. Weapons picked up 1. Hamlet picked up 1. And F1, it's a Brad Pitt joint, that picked up 1 award. Kind of surprising, but I want to give a shout out to Shane McMahon and his lovely wife. Apparently, their movie didn't pick up any awards. I'm not sure if you guys are aware of that, but yeah, there was some movie that she was attached to. Trying to see if I can find it because I remember saying to Tams, "Hey, do me a favor, send me that." Because she was like, "Hey, it's up for these awards," and I was like, "Really?" She was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah. Check this out." And I was like, "Oh, okay, that's really cool." Marissa McMahon, yeah, Marissa McMahon. Hang on, I'm trying to see if I can find it. But apparently, like, I don't even think it was nominated for anything. I'm trying to see real quick here. Bear with me. His wife is very, very pretty, by the way. Shane McMahon's wife, I like her. She's very cute. She was the producer on Train Dreams, and hang on. So she was nominated. The thing was nominated for a Academy Award there. Yeah, let's see here. Producer on Train Dreams with the production company she co-founded, Kamala Films. The movie is streaming on Netflix right now. Is a period drama that had grabbed 4 Oscar nominations, including Best Picture, but it didn't pick up any awards whatsoever. So that kind of sucks. And then for you rock fans out there, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, that one was kind of wow, you don't say. But his movie, The Shattered Machine, you would have thought it would have been a good night and everything, but The Rock and his team, they went home empty handed at the Oscars. Smashing Machine was up for just 1 award, and that was for Best Makeup and Hairstyling, and it didn't even win that. What beat them was Frankenstein. So, man, they couldn't even win for Best Hairstyle and Makeup. You're like, damn. But it just gives me joy to see that Michael B. Jordan. I said this on the AEW Revolution post show, but I just can't help but say it again because, like, when I think about how long I've been watching the career of Michael B. Jordan, like this guy's been growing up like before my very eyes. I remember watching this dude, a little scrawny kid on The Wire. So to watch him go, from The Wire to where he is now, it's an incredible journey. It is an incredible, incredible journey. But man, just shout out to everybody behind not just one battle after another. Uh, what was that, like a whopping 14 nominations earned? And I think that was like a record in itself since like 1998 or whatever. But then just to look at director Ryan Coogler, who won Best Original Screenplay for Sinners. And that thing also won Best Original Score at the Oscars, Best Cinematography. Michael B. Jordan picking up Best Actor. It's just awesome. Just I'm like, yo, that's what's up. I love that. I love that so much. And then to see how Michael B. Jordan celebrated afterwards, he went to a In and Out Burger. I'm going, yo, like that is awesome. That is so fucking awesome. My girl and family and friends, they always said to me, like, yo, like, if you like accomplish like this huge milestone in your life, like, how are you gonna celebrate? And I would say different things to them, but normally the number one answer that would always be consistent, like I think I would probably take a drive to Chicago and maybe go to White Castle or something. I think that's ultimately what I'm gonna do. Like, that's what I see myself doing. So congrats to everybody that had won. And shout out to Chloe Zaho for Hamnet. She was up for an award for Best Director. But the person that ultimately won that was Paul Thomas Anderson for One Battle After Another. Chloe Zhao, she went into the weekend along with Sarah Michelle Gellar. They had this great momentum that pretty much was behind them, and big hopes that the Oscar weekend would somehow translate over into what they were hoping to do with the Buffy the Vampire Slayer reboot that they were trying to do for Hulu. I kind of alluded to it at the beginning of the show. And sadly, they had got some really bad news going in the Oscar weekend that the project was no longer a go. And from kind of what I was able to gather, they had already came up with a treatment. There was already a screenplay. I think they were starting to get to that point where it was pre-production and everything. And Sarah Michelle Gellar, she really, really had jumped out there and spilled the tea on what all was going down. And what she said was just pretty powerful. I gotta say, to the point that if it was like this, if this executive really did operate the way that they did, I hope that the powers that be with Hulu and or whoever, they go, yeah, you know what? We need to make sure that we protect ourselves, we protect our property, because we can't have this type of rhetoric be put out there. Here's what Sarah Michelle Gellar had said. No one saw this coming, including the head of Searchlight. I got the call as we were stepping on stage for the premiere of their own movie. And it's also the weekend of Chloe Zhao going to the Oscars as a Best Director nominee for Hamnet. For them to call us on the Friday of what should have been Chloe's victory lap for an incredible film and my world premiere of something that I worked very hard for, that says something. We had an executive on our show who was not only not a fan of the original Buffy the Vampire series, but was proud to constantly remind us that he'd never seen the entirety of the series and how it wasn't for him, she said. That's very hard when you're taking a property that is as beloved as Buffy, not just to the world, but to me and Chloe. So that tells you the uphill battle that we had been fighting since day one, when your executive is literally proud to tell you that he didn't watch it. Well, you know what? That fucking bullshit right there, that is why, then you shouldn't be an executive. You should not be an executive. Because you've already got this personal bias that's going on here, and you pretty much got somebody that's rooting for your failure. How is that fair? Like, legit. Now, I know that we've got some people that are going, look, man, in this day and age, reboots, it doesn't always work. And trust me, I hear you guys on some of that. I really, really do. We've seen a lot of examples where reboots, oof. I remember when the Will and Grace reboot came back. I mean, it was alright, but it wasn't as good as the original run. I definitely remember when the Frasier reboot was in full effect. I looked at that and I said, after one episode, I said, yeah, I'm good. I'm good. It felt a little too woke for me personally, besides some other stuff, but it wasn't the same, right? So it's like, yeah, no, I'm good. We've seen many instances. Hey, let's not forget when there was a Honeymooners reboot. My God. So if you're keeping track, so we had the original Neil Simon's The Odd Couple, starring the great Tony Randall, and oh my God, I'm drawing a blank on his name. Tony Randall and oh my God, his name is on the tip of my tongue. I'm drawing a blank on him. I can see his face. I'm picturing him on his show, Quincy, M.E. Oh my God, that's gonna bother me now. Why can't I remember his name? I can see the credits. Like it's right there. I can Jack, 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 Klugman. Klugman, thank you. Jack Klugman. All right. So anyway, but we had that one. And then there was a black version of The Odd Couple in the early 80s. I think they called it The New Odd Couple. That starred Ron Glass. Ron Glass was in the role of Felix. And then Damon Wilson from Sanford and Son, he was in the role of Oscar. Then there was another attempt. I kind of feel like there was a fourth attempt, but the one that I remember was 2015, Matthew Perry, Thomas Lennon, right? So they went to the well a couple of times and it's like, but then we see instances where there's been some really good reboots. You look at the reboot of X-Men 97, playing off of the X-Men series that we got from back in the day. You look at Daredevil, Born Again, that reboot. I mean, that's just doing fucking phenomenal. There's definitely been instances where, like, dude, if you stay true to the source material, because the source material, right there, like, you stay true to it and follow that. That's your holy Bible right there. You really can't go wrong. It sucks. It is what it is, but it just sucks hearing that type of rhetoric was happening behind the scenes. It definitely does not make that production company and Hulu and everybody involved. It doesn't make them look good whatsoever, because now if you're hoping to somehow get Chloe Zhao involved with some of your IPs in the future, now it's going to become much more challenging, because one of the first questions that she's likely going to have is, well, who would potentially be my executive producer? Because I definitely want to have a say in who my producer is. And, if that guy is still anywhere associated with all of that, it's like, nah, I'm good. I'm out. Totally understandable. Totally understandable. So from there, I'll tell you what, also, while we're still talking entertainment, this is also wrestling related as well, because man, when I just think about some of the great music wrestling wise that is associated with this next guy I'm getting ready to bring up and everything, that's all I gotta say. Like, I'd be set on fire if I did not mention this guy's name. Shout out to Phil Campbell. For those of you that know all things hard rock, metal, that guy best known as the guitarist for the legendary Motorhead. He pretty much was with them from 1984 until their disbandment in 2015, obviously because of, Lemmy passing and everything. But yeah, man, Phil Campbell passing away at the age of 64. He died from complications of a surgery that he had in the summer of last year. It was around May, June, July of last year. So I don't know as far as like what that surgery consisted of and all that. but basically it was complications from that. 64, that is young. I don't care what anybody says. Like with what we know about science, nutrition, medicine and all that, that is way too damn young. Now, some of you guys may be wondering, how is he tied to wrestling and all that? Well, it's okay if you don't know your music and all that. It's okay. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm hipping you guys. Motorhead, of course, they have provided some of the best music in working with WWE through the years. Of course, Triple H's Time to Play the Game. You also think about Triple H's King of Kings theme. You also think about the Evolution stable with Triple H, Batista, Ric Flair, Randy Orton. So the relationship between Motorhead and WWE, it's, for many, many, many years, WWE and Motorhead, they have been joined together. They've been joined by the hip and everything, right down to the point. I think it was maybe early last year, and or the year before, WWE had this partnership with Motorhead where there was like this cross apparel collaboration that went down for a limited time and everything. I still remember, and I'm glad that WWE never let this see the light of day. And I don't know if you guys remember this, but do y'all remember when Triple H had spoke at Lemmy's funeral? Do y'all remember that? Do you remember specifically what Triple H had revealed? If you can't remember, it's okay. But Triple H, Paul Levesque, he revealed, and I just thought it was like the worst shameless plugging to be doing at the funeral, because it did came off like shameless plugging. But Paul Levesque revealed that they were fortunate enough to sit down with Lemmy right before he passed, and they filmed him, and they were getting his life story and all of that. It was basically a documentary that they had put together. And he was saying, it was really good, and they hope to release it very, very soon. And the way it was initially sounding way back when, it was sounding like this was maybe going to be coming out in like the next month or two. Because I remember it started picking up a whole lot of traction when Triple H had revealed this and everything. Needless to say, that documentary has yet to see the light of day. This was now. I know that there's been some stuff that has been put out on Lemmy and Motorhead since, but this one specifically was a WWE produced documentary. I want to make that distinction very clear. That WWE production, to my knowledge, and you guys, because you guys are good at doing your little detective work. If that's changed, let me and the rest of the community know. But as far as I know, that has not seen the light of day. 64 though, man, that's way too young. But thoughts, prayers, condolences to Phil Campbell's friends, family, colleagues, and fans all around the world. I heard that one and I just said, man. And I know some people are like, well, technically Phil wasn't an original. When you have been with the band like that long, as far as I'm concerned, in my book, you're fucking an original member. Like, fuck out of here. You're an original member. That's a long time. But now officially Motorhead is up there in heaven kicking some ass. Raising devil horns in the air and all and everything. Boy, that's got to be something. Like, I mean, really just before we move on, just really take a step back and think about that for a second. Because we're talking about hard rock and metal. Just think about that for a second. So we got Lemmy up there, like all the members of Motorhead. We got the original Motorhead guys up there now. We got Dio. We got Ozzy, right? We got Dimebag Darrell. I mean, my fucking God, they are just they're having some serious fucking fun up there right now, man. It's like so I don't want you guys to go, where's my ticket? Soon, soon. Enjoy your time here on this realm for now. Like seriously, man, seriously. Anyway, let's talk about this OVW incident that had occurred over the weekend because when I saw this, I just couldn't help but go, what the fuck? I couldn't believe what I was watching before my very eyes here. It was most disturbing, I have to say. And I had jotted down some notes. So here's what happened. For those of you that are not aware, apparently last Thursday, OVW were taping a episode of a show series they call Rise, I guess OVW Rise. And it was really bad what had went down. Now, I don't know if the footage is still out there on social media. I heard people say they saw it on TikTok. I know some people, you definitely were able to see it on Twitter. You definitely were able to see it on Twitter. But OVW was very, very quick to put out the copyright claims and get shit taken down and all of that. So I don't know where things stand at the time of this recording right now. You could probably still find it. You could probably, if you look hard enough, you could probably find it. But for anyone that needs to be caught up, they have this young 20-something-year-old kid of a referee named Dallas Edwards. And when you look at this kid, this guy's got to be maybe standing at about 5'1", maybe 5'2", skinny guy. Looks like he maybe weighs about $120. I'd be shocked to hear $130, but he looks very, very small. Okay. He's in the ring and he takes this nasty, I don't want to say it was a unplanned bump. I don't want to say that. What I will say is he took a bump. Okay. As you see in this multi-man tag match, it's being described, it was maybe a main event or whatever. We see this one guy go up to the corner of a turnbuckle, and I guess he was trying to go for a flying forearm from the top, but then it kind of somehow morphs into like a crossbody or whatever. And referee Dallas Edwards, he's taking the full impact of this. And as you're watching him, you see that he falls on the back of his head. Go back, assuming the footage is out there, and you go back and see this, I mean, you see clear as day, he does hit the back of his head and everything. And you can see a wrestler kind of go up to him, like real quick. Hey, you all right? It's kind of one of those things. And, usually what's supposed to happen there when you do some type of a spot like that, you put your hand kind of quietly around the area of the other wrestler's hand. And it's kind of one of those, hey, let me know that you're good. Everything's still working with you. And there's usually a quick little squeezing of the hand, squeezing twice or whatever, let you know that, no, they're good and everything. So next thing you know, like, I don't even know if the wrestler in question even got that cue, but this wrestler just went to, fighting or whatever. Tony Evans, I think, is the guy that maybe was the one that was kind of checking up on him. But next thing you know, Ref Edwards starts wigging out. He starts having a seizure. I mean, he's throwing his hand. It's visually, it is the scariest fucking thing that you will see, because you're like, what the, for the untrained eye, for those that don't know what a seizure looks like, you're watching this man have a seizure. And you can hear the crowd in attendance. There's like this overwhelming hush as now their eyes have basically pivoted to, well, what's going on with the referee? And you got the wrestler Tony Evans, I think is his name, yanks him right into um I think he like tried to like kick him out of the ring, or some stupid shit. Somebody tried to just kick the guy off to the side so they could continue to wrestle and all that. And I'm like thinking to myself, no, this is like not what you are supposed to do. This is not what you're supposed to do. Obviously, something is going on here with the referees. Somebody is supposed to throw up the X symbol or something to let everybody know we got a situation that's playing out here. To hear the commentary team, on like 3 occasions, somebody should have been out there the first go round. It shouldn't even have taken for the commentators to say, referee Edwards, we might want to get some help out here. It's not looking good for him. But it felt like an eternity watching this young man having the seizure and all that. Look, when a bump like this, when it happens, whether or not it's planned or not, when something like this happens, there is usually some type of a tap, some type of a squeeze. You let that person know that you're okay. Like, you can go to whatever performance center, whatever training facility, academy, or whatever. It's wrestling 101. It's wrestling 101. And you're not talking to somebody that, because before you go, well, how would you? Well, I've had friends that either used to work in the business, or they currently are still involved in the business. Or I had a friend that knew a friend that, and I'd be able to, be there behind the scenes and, see all that stuff and everything. I'm curious to know whether or not that particular spot involving that referee, not the referee, but the wrestler. I'm curious if that wrestler got that spot cleared. I'm very, very curious, because like when you're looking at the size of this referee, you just can't help but go, man, were you really cleared to take those type of bumps? Because Jesus, like, that's an accident waiting to happen. Whether you have, whether you have a history of seizures or not, like, for your height and your weight, like, and the guy that's doing this off the top rope, it's not like he's the Big Show or anything like that, but I mean, he's just this average looking, Jack Black kind of, but maybe a little bit more skinnier than Jack Black, but just an average build kind of guy, but looks very hulking compared to referee Edwards and everything. It was scary. It was scary. You, and at the same time, you're also looking at this referee, and you can't help but wonder, is this the first time that he has had seizures? Even if it was a case where he hadn't had a seizure in a whole year, or he hadn't had a seizure in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, like, if he's had seizures before, was this documented on his application, on his health file, and if so, like, why did we still risk putting this young man in this particular position? Like, You can tell me all you want till you're blue in the face. Yeah, but you got the heart, got the desire, dream to be a pro wrestler. It's like, yeah, nah, like I hear you, but like I'm gonna put you any and everywhere else to protect you than to have you be in the ring where, heaven forbid, right, something goes down and physically, like, it's just no, no. I would rather you're either going to be an announcer, you're going to be a timekeeper, or we'll get you trained in broadcasting, being a cameraman, or, sound guy, or like whatever. You just can't help but wonder what what's going on with that. Now, let me tell you something, because this is where my personal experience, not just from that whole wrestling standpoint, but from a health standpoint, twice in my entire life, I have been friends with individuals that deal with seizures. And I won't be long and drawn out with it. One of the first people that I came across that was dealing with seizures, I remember when I was early in my 20s, I was maybe somewhere between 20 to 22 years old. And there was this downtown law firm place that I was working at. I basically was doing security. And part of my job, I would relieve the receptionist that they had there. Me and the receptionist, we became really, really good friends, right down to the point I used to flirt with this receptionist all the time. She was a cute little chocolate belle. I mean, she was tiny too. That was the other thing that I loved about her. She was this tiny little thing. She was maybe about 4'10", weighed about maybe 120, but she was built and all the right places. And at one point, like, we were kind of getting a little bit heavy, a little hot and heavy, but then it kind of cooled off, and it didn't get too far, but it could have. If I really wanted to pursue it, it could have. But anyway, one of the first times that I became aware that like something was going on with her, and oh, she's dealing with seizures or whatever. I remember I went into the little office drawer that we would sit at, and I came across her medications. And back then, I didn't know what the hell all that was about. I'm like, I knew it was official medication, but I didn't think nothing much of it. I'm like, okay. And I knew her name. I'm like, oh, I don't know what the hell that's about. Like, okay, cool. And then one day she comes and she's talking to me and everything. We're just talking in the lobby. And she's like, all of a sudden, she just like does this pivot. She's like, I'm going to go upstairs. And I was like, 'cause we were just deep in a conversation. And she was like, I'm going upstairs. I'm like, did I say something wrong? And she's like, Laura, that was her name. Lauren, that was her name. I was like, Lauren, did I say something? She's like, I gotta go upstairs. I'm like, okay. And what she was trying to do, I didn't notice until after the fact. But basically what happened was she was trying to get into one of her boss's offices because they were aware of her seizures. And she was trying to get to the office to lay on the sofa and everything, kind of give them a heads up what was going on. She didn't make it, unfortunately. She was able to get off the elevator, and then she pretty much on the floor. Luckily, it was carpeted, but still, you're thinking about, far as we know, she didn't hit her head or whatever. But we actually got called. That's how I ended up finding out like what the hell happened, because we got called on the radio by an ongoer on that level. And another person was like, hey, something's going on upstairs with the receptionist. We're like, what? And like me and the other guard, we went upstairs. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, he just called her, and Lauren was like, no, I'm good, I'm good. Just let me be, just let me be. And that's when we found out what was, going on. The second time I found out about my experience with seizures and all that, there was a really cool girl that I used to work with. Her name was it Cynthia? I think her name I think her name was Cynthia. She worked as our confirmation person at the market research company I used to work for many years back. And I had a soft spot for her. I used to love flirting with her. That was another little chocolate little cutie that I used to love. Sometimes I'd bring her little things and all that. Homegirl loved to eat. I mean, she loved to eat. Every time I saw her, she was always eating something yummy, and I'd be like, "Hey, buddy, what's up?" And she was always trying to offer. She was a sweetheart. She would always try to offer whatever to me, and I'd be like, "Nah, nah, nah. I'm good. I'm good." I found out that she was dealing with seizures. There was actually one instance where I remember I actually was, I think, getting ready to get off the elevator with her, and she started to faint, and I caught her. And one of our coworkers, a female by the name of, I think it was Katrina, she was like, Lee, let me take her. I know what's going on. I'm like, and I said, Is it a seizure?" She's like, "Yeah, baby, it's a seizure." I was like, "Okay." He's like, "You need anything?" Like, "No, no, no, we're good." I'm like, "Okay." But I caught her just in time. Like, there was enough of her too. But the way her seizures would come on, Cynthia's seizures came much more like than what I witnessed with Lauren. Cynthia could just be having a regular conversation with you and everything, and then she would start to get real quiet, and like somehow she knew when it was starting to come on or whatever, and then she would ask, uh, one of the female employees that she was really close with to follow her into the bathroom and basically stay with her while. And that was the coolest thing about our bathroom was the way we had our bathroom set up on that particular floor. We had it set up so that if you were a female and you went into the women's restroom, you could just lock the doors behind you, and the only way you'd be able to get in there was if you had a key. That was like the only way you could do it. And you were only going to have the key two ways. Either the supervisor had the key or you had to get a key from maintenance. So for however long things needed to be worked out until the seizure was. Now, some of you guys may be hearing that you may be like, Lee, why do these seizures happen? Like, I ain't no doctor. I'm not going to pretend to be one. I know in the case of Cynthia, I know nutrition played just a little bit of a factor. Because I know in regards to her diabetes, I'm not saying like it was the main culprit, but I know in her particular case, like if her blood sugar went down to a certain level, because she told me this herself, like if her blood sugar went down to a certain level, it would definitely trigger her seizures, unfortunately. But I'm saying all of this to say when you don't know the signs, when you don't know what you're looking for and all that, it can be a very scary situation when you see somebody having a seizure and you're like, I don't know what to do. I don't know if this person is dying on me. I don't know. Well, the first things first, you don't freak the fuck out. What you're supposed to do, when you see somebody fall to the ground like that and you see them making the weird tight body gyrations that, they're making and everything, you want to do everything in your power to protect that person's head. So if that means you need to take the shirt off your back or whatever, and you got to ball it up and put it under their head, or whatever you can get to make them comfortable, then that's definitely what you want to do. Another thing that you want to do as well, you want to make sure that person is not biting down on the back of their tongue, because heaven forbid that they're biting down on the back of their tongue. That's going to draw out so much fucking blood, and you don't want that person choking on the tongue slash choking on their own blood. Like, that's a messed up way to go out and everything, right? At the same time, you want to protect your hands and all that, because when a person is having a seizure and all that, like, they've got like the jaws of life that's going on essentially and all of that. So you want to try to find something that you can use to kind of pry the mouth open and hold the mouth open to definitely prevent them from biting down on their tongue and everything. And you just want to hold them, try to sit them upright, and just hold them, try to caress them, rub the back of their head and all that, and maybe take a little bit of cold water, put it on a towel, paper towel or whatever, napkin, whatever you can find, kind of, you know, pat their head down, try to help cool them off and all that. Usually, you just got to ride it out. It can last for several seconds, it can last for a minute, 2 minutes, anything longer. Usually anything longer than 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, it's like you really need to be calling the fucking ambulance, because yeah, we were talking scary uncharted territory that's happening there. The way OVW handled this, it was just totally wrong on so many levels. It was disgusting. It was just disgusting. I was beside myself. I couldn't help but think about the nice, rich, deep, rich history of OVW, and think about all the people that came from OVW, the Randy Ortons, the John Cenas, the Dave Batistas, the Brock Lesnars, the Shelton Benjamins, the Charlie Haases, John Cena. Yeah, I mean, just the list just goes on and on and on. Like, I know I'm not mentioning everybody, but like, some pretty big names came through OVW and have gone on to have some pretty damn good careers outside of wrestling, or some phenomenal stuff still in wrestling to this day or whatever. And just think about Rip Rogers, who was associated with OVW, owning it at one point, and then Danny Davis. I think about some of the people through the Danny Davis era of OVW, who I took a very strong liking to back in the day, and some of them I tried to do my best to keep tabs on, stay in contact with, and everything. And I think about the Danny Davis era, and then of course I think about Jim Cornette and when he was doing this thing down there with OVW and everything. Al Snow. I love Al Snow. I love that guy to death. For this to happen on his watch, it's just, it's so, and it's bad enough that since Al Snow has been at the helm, like, there's been different changes in ownership, but yet somehow Al Snow has continued to still somehow be there in the mix of it all and everything. Leadership, as far as accountability, it starts at the top. It starts with Al Snow, and then it trickles its way down, going right down to the hiring managers and all of that. Because something like this, I'm very, very curious as far as the wrestler goes. That referee, going back to referee Dallas Edwards, I can't help but go, yo, what was going on with that background medical check? Did he to do some type of lying, like what was going on there, because he put that company in a really, really bad position. Because as a wrestling promotion and here's the thing with OVW, I don't think a lot of people realize OVW isn't just some, some WWE performance center, or, give them $50 or whatever and they'll train you to be a wrestler. Let's not forget they're a accredited school. I know off and on we used to talk about that here on the show over the years. They are a accredited school, an accredited institution, because there's a whole lot of things that you can learn from them. It's not just, hey, you can go and you can go learn how to be a wrestler. You can also go learn how to book a television show, script writing, and learn how to operate a camera, learn how to operate a dolly, and all that other stuff, right? So definitely from a media production side, there's a lot that they can teach you and everything. So yeah, they are a accredited school and all that. But like, you look at the HR team and it's like, okay, did this guy lie on his medical background check and all that? Because what he did to OVW as a whole, he put them in a position where, without them knowing this guy's potential full history, concussion history, seizure, like you name it. I mean, that is a huge, like, ooh, you know. And refs also, not for nothing, they're also supposed to be trained in um, first aid too, for what it's worth. So this was just bad on so many levels. I know Al Snow had put out a statement admitting that there was a breakdown in communication and that OVW is updating safety protocols and ref medical training. Um, you Ben should have had that in place. Yeah, Ben should have had all of that in place in 2026, with everything that you know about medicine and like all of that. You're supposed to know better. You're supposed to already have all of this at play. So I hope the young man. It looks like his family had put out a statement saying that he was all right and all of that. That's good. But this was a black eye moment for wrestling. I just shook my head when I saw this go down, because I was thinking about all the good progress that OVW was making. It's just amazing how in just one instance, all of that just pretty much. Now, some of you guys may say, well, Lee, if this was for a taping, how was it that we were made aware of? How did this end up spreading like wildfire? Because OVW actually had trended heading into the weekend and all that. So apparently, to watch this Rise show from OVW, they actually stream it. It's like this little small live streaming affiliate company that they're with. And so basically, that's how people were able to find out what was going on. And like, even at that, when that incident happened, the damage was already done. People had already like had the joint recording in the background and then put it out there on social media and everything. Very unfortunate. And then like to see how the show had abruptly ended. It was bad. And let me just say this to any individual out there that was sharing this all throughout social media, to any individual that had syndicated this to their YouTube channel or their Facebook, all in the name of monetization, clicks, and all that other shit. You're what's wrong with this society. If you want to talk about it to spread awareness, talk about what went right, talk about what went wrong, like there's nothing wrong with that. Like, you can make those points without showing the footage. Because by showing the footage, you're creating this sensationalism that honestly is not needed. There's a right way of covering and reporting, something like this, and then there's the wrong way, and it just kind of rubbed me the wrong way seeing the individuals that were syndicating this content over and re-syndicating this content over and over and over again. Just disgusting. But that is that in a nutshell. So let's do this. Before we get ready to dip out, I want to give a shout out to our friends of the show. Love you guys as always. Shout out to my man Julian Cannon of Digiday and Nocturnal. I saw he was actually at the red carpet over the weekend at the Oscars. I'm looking forward to seeing some of his type up reviews, coverage. I know he conducted some interviews as well in front of the camera. I'm looking forward to seeing that. So shout out to him. Shout out to the good folks over at Q4CD.com. If you've recently been diagnosed with prostate cancer or know somebody that's been diagnosed with prostate cancer, before making treatment decisions, get clarity from someone who's been there. Questions for cancer doctors. You can speak with Dr. Williams, who's a retired lieutenant colonel and a radiation oncologist. Helps men and veterans understand their options and ask the right questions before moving forward. They have a book that you can download for more information, and ultimately, if you'd like, you can set up a private one-on-one consultation. Just head over to Q4CD.com for all of that information. Q4CD.com, because the right questions lead to the right decisions. Happy to have them on board as a sponsor of the RCWR show. Your next edition of the RCWR show, that is it. I think this weekend is going to be wrestling with the topics. I was supposed to do something over the weekend, but I said to Tams, yo, I'm actually going to be watching the AEW Revolution, and I think I'm doing a post show. And she was like, you're actually going to cover it? I said, yeah, it'd be a nice little change of pace, start the spring break. I'm going to go ahead and cover that. So we were supposed to do Wrestling with the Topics this past weekend, but we didn't do it because of the Revolution pay-per-view. But we are definitely going to be doing Wrestling with the Topics this weekend. So be on the lookout for that one. And then for my RCWR show listeners, your next edition of the RCWR show will be happening on Monday, March 13th. No. March 23rd is what I was thinking. March 23rd. Forgive me. March 23rd, 2026. So be on the lookout for that. We'll be on after Raw goes off the air. By the way, it's Tuesday, March 17th here on the East Coast. Happy St. Patrick's Day. I know WWE was doing their thing with shop.wwe.com. Where they had some really cool Stone Cold Steve Austin stuff. It sucks that they didn't do anything with Stone Cold. I'm hoping that Stone Cold gets involved with Raw on Netflix. And, we were hearing the rumblings. Nothing materialized. It's unfortunate. I hope you guys were able to take advantage of some really good stuff that was on sale at WWE Shop, because they had some really cool ass... I so wanted to get, I'll say this before I go off the air, I so wanted to get the Stone Cold Steve Austin 316 says, I just whipped your ass. It's like this 16 by 20. One option is a framed autograph picture, and it's got Stone Cold Steve Austin, King of the Ring throne behind him. Michael Hayes is interviewing him. I wanted to grab that so bad, and I actually, I said to the wifey, I said, hey, I don't suppose, since I've been a very good boy, you would, do me the honor. And she was like, no. Maybe I'll surprise you down the road in a couple of months, but no, not right now. I was like, oh, okay. I just thought I'd ask. She's like, no, you, all the wrestling shit that's in the studio, you're like, you're good. I'm like, okay, thank you. She's like, but I will keep that in mind for the holidays. I was like, okay, thank you. So, but I hope you guys were able to get something, because they had a lot of really cool shit on there. Hey, be kind, rewind, check out previous episodes you might have missed on demand and on the downloads, wherever you get your podcasts. Just search the RCWR show. You can get at me all throughout social media. Use the keywords, the RCWR show. And until next go round, my pretty babies, please Please be safe. Most importantly, be kind to one another. And I will see you all next go round. Adios, y'all. Take care.